peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for finding time and joining us this afternoon. It is the 4th of May 2021. The show is DIASPORA Dispatches. We're going to bring you the latest from the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are tuned in today, a minute past 3 p.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. We start off with Uganda, and Uganda's parliament has passed a sweeping law on sexual offences, repealing some of the provisions in the decades-old criminal law. The new measures provide for establishment of a national sexual offenders register. Anyone who is convicted of a sexual offence will have their name entered in that record within 10 days of court ruling. They will be obliged to disclose this history if applying for a job or any position that puts children in their care. And for the first time ever, legislation on street harassment, public sexual assault, as well as harassment in professional settings has been introduced. Catcalling, indecent public exposure, or demanding sexual favors in return for a job or academic progress has been made illegal. The law also stipulates at least 7 years in prison for anyone who shares a digital explicit content on the internet and social media platforms. And then we go to South Sudan. Schools in South Sudan reopened countrywide after having been closed for more than a year to contain the spread of coronavirus. The announcement was made by South Sudan's Ministry of General Education and Instruction, Awud Ndeng Achwil, on Monday in the capital, Juba. Mr. Achwil urged parents to encourage the that has been declared under siege. The local administration, including governors and provincial assemblies in North Kivu and Ituri provinces, will be suspended for 30 days from Thursday and substituted with military authorities. Government spokesperson Kasongo Mwema Yamba said on Monday that the military will have powers such as conducting searches on people as well as restricting movement. President Felix Tshisekedi, in a televised address on Monday, said the move followed the cries of distress from the population there in the DRC, and he's saying he felt the pain that the mothers, sisters and daughters are suffering in these provinces ravaged by the war. The government declared a state of siege in the east on the 1st of May, which would allow the authorities to take measures to address the insecurity in the region. And then we go to Ethiopia, and the European Union has cancelled its observer mission for Ethiopia's June election, citing lack of agreement on key parameters. The EU's High Representative on Foreign Affairs, Joseph Borrell, said a standard requirements such as the mission's independence and importing of communication systems for their security had been denied. The EU urged the Ethiopian government to carry out free and fair elections. It said it had supported the electoral board with about £20 million, that is equivalent to $24 million. Ethiopia is set to hold elections on the 5th of June. The polls were delayed because of the coronavirus pandemic. And then we go to Tanzania. The Tanzanian government has issued new guidelines on coronavirus, including a 14-day quarantine period for people arriving in the country. The measure will apply to both foreigners and citizens who will be required to present a test certificate showing negative COVID-19 results. Those arriving from countries with high number of cases will have to undertake another mandatory COVID test on arrival at their own cost. The directive, signed by Permanent Secretary for Health, Professor Abel Makube, is effective from today. And in May last year, Tanzania lifted the mandatory quarantine for visitors and instead announced that screening and test will be done on arrival. The change has come under President Samia Suluhu Hassan's administration, who has adopted a different leadership approach, including a science-based approach to tackling the pandemic. And then we go to Burundi, and Burundi's Minister for Trade, Transport, Industry and Tourism, Immaculate Ndabaneze, has been sacked for putting the economy at risk and tarnishing the image of the country. She was briefly held, questioned and released on Sunday pending investigations. Mrs. Ndabaneze is facing corruption allegations over the sale of an aircraft belonging to the now defunct national carrier Air Burundi. The plane was sold between December 2020 and January 2021 to a South African businessman at a ridiculously low price. That is according to the local anti-corruption NGO there in Burundi known as Ole Kume Burundi. She has not responded yet to these allegations. We go to Somalia, and Somalia's northeastern semi-autonomous Puntland regional state has sentenced 5 Al-Shabaab militants to death. The 5 convicts were identified as Mohammed Hashim Mumin, or also known as Abu Dayib, and Abdul Kadir Ahmed Umar, also known as Abu Abdallah, Mohammed Ali Auke, also known as Jerry, Mohammed Abdullahi Ayahne, also known as Abele, and Kasim Jelani Al-Turabi, according to Radio Dalsan's website. The chief of the Puntland Military Court, Colonel Ali Shire, said the 5 were found guilty of carrying out attacks targeting government officials. The convicts have 30 days to appeal against the sentencing. On the 23rd of April, the same court sentenced 8 Al-Shabaab militants to death for carrying out killings and explosions in parts of Mudug region. And then we go to Burkina Faso. At least 30 people were killed by gunmen in eastern Burkina Faso on Monday, according to the government, in the latest attack since 2 Spanish journalists and Irish conservationists were killed by jihadists a week ago. The attack occurred in Kodial village in the Komajari province near the border with Niger. A government official, Labidi Oduoba, told the Associated Press by phone after fleeing the attack. Jihadists surrounded the village and went house to house, setting fire to them and killing people. And that is according to that government official. We go to Libya, and Libya's top diplomat on Monday called for the departure of foreign forces and mercenaries from the North African country as it heads towards election later this year. Nigel Al-Maghousha, the foreign minister of Libya's interim government, made the appeal during a news conference with her Turkish counterpart Mevlut Cavusoglu in Tripoli. She urged Turkey to implement the United Nations Security Council resolutions demanding the repatriation of more than 20,000 foreign fighters and mercenaries from Libya. Oil-rich Libya was plunged into chaos after 2011 NATO-backed uprising toppled longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi and split the country between the United Nations-supported government in Tripoli and rival authorities based in the country's east. Each side was backed by an array of local militias as well as regional and foreign powers. Forces loyal to Khalifa Haftar, the military commander controlling eastern and southern parts of Libya, launched an offensive in April 2019 to try and capture Tripoli, supported by Egypt and the United Arab Emirates. The campaign collapsed after Turkey stepped up its military support of the United Nations-supported government with hundreds of troops and thousands of Syrian mercenaries. And then we go to South Sudan. And one more suspect has been arrested in connection with the shooting of the bishop-elect of a diocese of Rumbek. This brings the total number of suspects arrested to 40, according to the authorities in Lake State. The suspect is a nephew to the former diocesan coordinator for the diocese of Rumbek, Father Mathiang Mathor. They are accused of shooting and injuring Father Christian Kalasari. Father Kalasari was shot in both legs by unknown assailants at his residence in Rumbek. Sabit Makir Machor was arrested in Juba on Sunday for allegedly participating in the coordination of the attack on the priest. And the priest, after that attack, was flown to Nairobi. He's here receiving treatment. I'm not aware if at all he has returned yet at Juba. And then we end with Nigeria. The President Major General of retired Muhammadu Buhari is currently presiding over a security meeting at the State House in Abuja. The meeting, which is holding at the First Lady's conference room, is a continuation of last Friday's meeting adjourned for today. President of the meeting is the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Secretary to the Government and Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, and the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Munguno. Also present is the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, and Chief of Air Staff, and the Acting Inspector General of Police. So basically, Buhari is having a meeting with the top leadership of the security apparatus there in Nigeria, and that is the latest from the continent. But this is not the first time that Buhari is having this high-level meeting with security officials in Nigeria. He had another one, I think, about a month ago, another one before that. He's been having several of these meetings. What I don't understand is what the purposes of this meeting. Of course, I'm assuming it is to address the insecurity in Nigeria. But even after that, we don't see a change of tact. We don't see a change of strategy. We don't see a reduction of the insecurity in Nigeria. Things seems to just escalate. So, and that's why I'm asking, what is the purpose of this meeting? He's had several of them, and maybe this one will bear some fruit. I don't know, but I think it's maybe he listens and. Because he's been criticized. We do that here every day. At least I do that. The insecurity in Nigeria is on ridiculous levels there. So hopefully at these meetings President Buhari is having with these high-level security officials in the country might come up with ways to curb and address urgently the insecurity in Nigeria. Paul Kagi, you're saying he's still at Nairobi Hospital under treatment. Oh, the father from South Sudan. Oh, that's good. Thank you for that information. I wasn't sure. The last time I was reading that news, he had just been flown to Nairobi for treatment. So we wish him a quick recovery. And I don't know if you're aware, what was the motive behind this attack of this father? If you can tell me, because now they're saying the person who attacked this Italian father is a nephew to the former the diocese coordinator of Rumbek, Father Mathiang Machol. So his nephew is said to have attacked. So does it have to do anything to do with a church leadership or something like that? Because if he's former, then maybe he was removed from that position. I don't know. I don't want to advance, conspiracy theories here that are not founded. But by information you have, Paul, is there anything that perhaps might have advised, reasons as to why a father was attacked there in Juba? I don't know. Okay, so this sexual offences bill in Uganda, I think it's quite interesting. And of course, Parliament in Uganda has passed a sweeping law on sexual offences, repealing some of the provisions of the decades-old criminal law. And so now they're saying even catcalling, that thing that men love to do, now it is a criminal offence. And that and indecent public exposure, I don't know how they're going to deal with that in the age of social media and Instagram and all this nakedness we see all over the place. So they're saying that is indecent public exposure, and also demanding sexual favors in return for a job or academic progress has been made illegal. I thought this was supposed to be legal, but now they've just made that clear in the law in Uganda, I suppose. So yes, indecent public exposure. That will get a lot of people, especially these young people we see. All right, so I think that will go a long way in protecting, I think, the vulnerable, I guess. And of course, the new measures provide for the establishment of a national sexual offenders register. So what they're saying is anyone who is convicted of a sexual offense will have their name entered in that record within 10 days of court ruling. Okay, and they will be obliged to disclose this history if applying for a job. See, now people have to behave, or any position that puts children in their care. So I don't know if maybe if it's matters to do with rape or sexual harassment or something like that, then you have to put it in your record. Or this catcalling and indecent public exposure, I don't know, also that will have to form part of your record. If you go applying for a job, yes, you'll have to state, your records will show that, you post indecently and you made these images available in the public there, and that will not be good. Okay, that is interesting. Paul Kagi, you're saying he's still under investigation. The cloud will be clear days ahead. All right, I believe that. Thank you so much, Francis Banner. What's the update in Ambazonia? I think the last I checked, we were talking about, for those who are watching and don't know, Ambazonia, this is the Anglophone part of Cameroon, the northeast, and I think this the northeast and the southwest regions there in Cameroon, the Anglophone, and we've known there has been a renewed fight between the Anglophone who wants to secede and leave the Greater Cameroon and become their own people and their own country, and right now they've been agitating to be allowed to have a referendum so that they can go ahead and determine the future of their country, which they have a name for, known as Ambazonia land. So for those who are wondering what Francis Bama is asking about, so the latest yesterday had a news from that part, and there were claims that some Ambazonian soldiers had killed, I think, some soldiers from the French-speaking Cameroon, and they had their limbs and hands and I don't know what else, and it was captured on video, and the authenticity of that video could not be ascertained. So I don't know how true these claims are. And of course, the government of Paul Biya, so Northwest and Southwest, thank you so much for that correction, Northwest and Southwest region of Cameroon, that is the Anglophone region there in Cameroon, also known as the Ambazonia land. And as I said, they're calling and agitating to be allowed to have a referendum so that they can leave. I don't know what became of that national dialogue that President Paul Biya organized in 2019. Was it in September, end of September towards October? Yes, that was supposed to try and solve, the issues on the Anglophone, between the Anglophones and President Paul Biya. The larger Cameroon, they speak French, and the renewed cause and wanting to secede, I think, was in 2017 when the government tried to insist that the Anglophone region should start learning in French. The schools, the teachers should start teaching in French. The court sessions there should start being conducted in French, and the Francophones thought, we don't speak French, we don't understand French, and so we can't do that. But that has been something that has been there since the late 60s. It's not something that it's a long history. I don't want to get into it. It's a resolution. They're supposed to have been allowed to have a referendum to allow them to go and have self-determination, but that has been denied. And of course, President Paul Biya is not very keen in allowing for that to happen. President Paul Biya is the second longest serving president in the continent. I've told you there every now and then. The first one is that one of Equatorial Guinea, who is the president, and the son is the vice president. Yes. The son is the vice president. And then we have President Paul Biya, who is the longest serving. I think this year he will have served for about, 39 years, if I'm not wrong. Is it? I think. Okay, so let me know, of course, the insecurity and the humanitarian crisis continue there in the Anglophone region in Cameroon. So okay, and this issue of the DRC now having the military take over North Kivu and Ituri provinces. We know this is a very restive area in the DRC, and it has been a cause of concern there, and there's a lot of proxy war around that area, a lot of interests that are represented that has refused to allow that place to know peace. So now President Felix Tshisekedi, while addressing the nation on Monday, said that that area will be under the military control. You know what that means. When a military goes someplace for an operation, It's not. It's not. That is something that we don't know the kind of results they'll be able to yield there, but that has been made necessary or called for because of the levels of insecurity, the killings, the what we've been seeing happening there. People are moving from their homes. And a couple of months ago, they were protesting because just closer to where the attacks continue, there's a lot of militia from Uganda has been blamed, Burundi has been blamed, Rwanda also has been sucked in that war, and I don't know which other country, and they're serving different interests there. As you know, DRC is one of the countries that is rich with natural resources in the continent. So the people who actually are funding these wars and are instigating this war so that the country continues to fight while they continue to loot and get away with a lot of these natural resources from the Democratic Republic of Congo. They have refused for the DRC to know peace, and so it's one of those conversations we'll have time and look at. But let's see how this will work out. And President Tshisekedi, I'll quote him. He said, "The cries of distress of our population and felt the pain that our mothers, sisters, and the daughters are suffering in these provinces ravaged by barbarity." The government declared a state of siege in the 1st of May, which would allow the authorities to take measures to address the insecurity in the region. That is going to be a daunting task for President Felix Tshisekedi, because it's a lot of interest there. You think you're fighting one person or one militia or one militant group, and yet and now I also hear that Al-Shabaab also have some presence in the DRC. I don't know for what reasons, but there you go. And very well, I think that's it. And of course, the European Union has cancelled its observer mission in Ethiopia's June election, citing a lack of agreement on key parameters. So the European Union's High Representative on Foreign Affairs, Joseph Borrell, said standard requirements such as the mission's independence and importing of communication system for the security had been denied. So they're saying if we are coming to monitor your elections, which we've funded partly, the European Union gave Ethiopia about 24 million US dollars to fund these elections. That's a lot of money. So if I'm funding your elections, then I have to come and I have to be present. And if I have to be present, then I'll have my own set of conditions because I'm funding you. All right? I'm finding you. So they're saying they have to come with their communication systems and they are for their security, and the Ethiopian government has denied. You know, right now the killings and the genocide that was happening in Tigray is still continuing. So I think Ethiopia is on a very high alert. So allowing this a mission to come in the country right now might not be the best interest of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who has remained adamant. He was asked for the Eritrean army to leave the Tigray region. There's no evidence that they have already left. And President Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea is one of the people who have been accused in the region of even funding and providing safe haven for a lot of militant activities supporting that, including Al-Shabaab. So he volunteered his soldiers to go fight and conduct the genocide that has been happening in Ethiopia against the Tigray people in the Tigray region. Some soldiers from Eritrea and others, their claims also from Somalia, and of course the Ethiopian soldiers there. So he has refused. I think these are for the European Union to come with some of these things they think they require in order to do a proper observation of elections that is supposed to be happening there on the 6th of or the 5th of June. So European Union mission has cancelled its observer mission there. So I don't know what how Abiy will respond to that. I'll watch and see how that will go. And of course, Tanzania's government, we know Tanzania's president, Madam Suluhu Hassan, is in Kenya right now. She arrived mid-morning and was received by President Uhuru Kenyatta. I think they'll be having a dinner tonight, and then she's meant to be in the country today and tomorrow, and I think Kenya and Tanzania has not had the best of relationships dating back to the first East African community when it was formed. And I think Kenya, being who we are a capitalist nation, and of course Tanzania is quite different. It's a socialist nation, so our ideas on how to do things was quite different. And our first president, Jomo Kenyatta, did not agree very well with the then first president of Tanzania, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. So because of the ideological differences, they had to part ways, and the rest of the East African community member states woke up and realized Kenya had already went miles ahead. And a lot of, I think the headquarters, a lot of these things were in Kenya. So Kenya got to benefit. I don't know, that is what gave us a head start, because right now we are the leading economy in the region. So our history of these frosty relationship goes back, way back. And of course, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere was not very happy then, was not very happy with the vice president, with the first president, was not very happy with Kenya. And we've seen a lot of leadership that has come after him, especially the late John Pombe Magufuli, reviving that frostiness. And but when, Benjamin Mkapa was the president, things were a bit different. When Jakaya Kikwete was the president, things were a bit different. And I think also for Benjamin Mkapa, being that he was a journalist, he was well informed, and so he was able to do good public relations. And so the relationship was fairly good between Kenya and Tanzania. But Magufuli, he just took his nationalistic agenda to just levels, and there were the punitive measures he took, especially some economic decisions he made, quite punitive, targeted Kenya and Kenyan businesses. And in the morning, we were having a conversation where I think that was a Kenyan living in Mwanza, Tanzania, who was saying, initially, you could have a work permit for 2 years if you're a Kenyan and you worked in and you lived in Tanzania. But now, after Magufuli came to power, you had to renew your work permit every 3 months, and you pay like $100. That is very expensive, because maybe you're just running a small business and you can't afford every 3 months you're paying $100. I think these are some of the measures that Magufuli had put in place to discourage Kenyans going to Tanzania. But okay, so I think Suluhu's visit to Kenya is quite important. I think it will mark a new start for, I hope, better diplomatic ties between these two countries and neighbors, and in the wider scheme of things, perhaps better relationship between the East African community member states. So now Tanzania government has issued new guidelines on coronavirus, including a 14-day quarantine period for people arriving into the country. I don't know if they're wearing masks yet. I don't think so. Not. It's still an option. You can wear or not. I think it's still an option there. So the measure will apply to both foreigners and citizens who will be required to present a test certificate showing negative COVID-19 results. Those arriving from countries with a high number of cases will have to undertake another mandatory COVID test on arrival at their own cost. The directive, signed by the Permanent Secretary for Health, Professor Abel Makubi, is effective from today. In May last year, Tanzania lifted the mandatory quarantine for visitors and instead announced that screening and testing will be done on arrival. The change has come under President Samia Suluhu Hassan's administration, who has adopted a different leadership approach, including a science-based approach to tackling the pandemic. I think that is that's a good thing. I don't know what took us so long, because if the rest of the world is wearing masks and is being vaccinated, and the rest of us, we're dealing with COVID pandemic, I don't know how they think that Tanzania was immune to this illness, just as a precautionary measure there. I think the president should go ahead and ask Tanzanians to wear even a mask to start with, and not make it optional, But I think that is a good start. But what they're saying is they'll be testing the people who are coming into the country from outside. So I don't know if they're testing the citizens in Tanzania. I'm not sure. But I think there's a small progress that we're seeing President Samia make. So hopefully this will be a new beginning for Tanzanians. As we have seen, she has completely departed from a lot of things her predecessor used to do, and she's becoming her own person, I think, paving her own path and blazing her own her own way as she assumes and settles in her leadership position there in Tanzania. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Ogoto, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.